So from a very young age, I felt like I was weird in this world. Like for some reason, I just felt like I didn't fit in. I knew something was different about me and other people, and it felt really uncomfortable um, having this feeling that other people are able and capable to do certain things, and it seems like I'm not capable to do that. Okay, this was the narrative and belief system that I started to create from a very young age. And then one day I was watching a shopping channel. I believe it was QVC. I don't remember exactly, but there was a guy named Kevin Trudeau, and he was selling a course, cassette tapes, by the way, cassette tapes. I don't know if you know about the cassette tapes, but we're talking about back in the day, right? And he was selling these cassette tapes. Basically, it was a course on developing your memory. Okay, it was called Mega Memory. And this was the first ever personal development course that I got. Actually went and told my mom because I felt like I wasn't doing well in school, right? I wasn't able to understand and retain information and be able to do what other kids were able to do in the class. And so I felt this need to get this particular course. Not only that, he was a very, very good salesperson. And so I went and told my mom, and my mom actually purchased it for me. And I'm really grateful for that because it's literally been one of the decisions that's been made that's led me to what I do here today. And so this course changed my perception on myself. So initially, I was running with the thought that I don't have a good memory, that I'm not able to retain information in school, that I'm not able to get good grades and all of this stuff. And then I got this course and I started going through it. And it was weird. I was remembering things that was hard for me to remember before. I was remembering people's names. I was able to remember different symbols and stuff like numbers. I can't remember exactly, but I could remember sequences of numbers and long sequences of numbers really easily. I haven't practiced that in a long time, so I don't think I'm able to do that right now. I would have to remember the techniques that were used, but I was able to retain some really deep information, and it was just like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And by the way, I'm only 11 years old. I'm only 11 years old at this time. Okay, and so just so you understand, if I were to go through that now, it would be, I guess, even better. But you can understand the gist of what I'm saying here. And so this was like mind blowing for me. And at the end of the course, there was a hypnosis. And so I got introduced to hypnosis at a very early age, at 11 years old. And it was like really cool to just relax your body and get cool. And then he was reprogramming the subconscious mind. And so I started to realize that, I can grow, as a human being. I can change. All I need is the right techniques and strategies in order to have a better life, to get good grades at the time, and to be able to study, to read. And through that program, because I was doing so well at it, my mum went and bought the other programs, okay, which was Mega Maths, Mega Speed Reading, and stuff like this. And so I was able to go and get these tools to facilitate helping me in school and stuff like this. And at the time, it was all about school. It was all about studying, right? And so, lo and behold, in secondary school, which is high school, I read another book, and the book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, and through reading this book, I understood that when you exchange time for money, you basically are stuck and your income can be capped. And I realized education wouldn't be enough in order to be able to get me to where I want to be. I still, even though I improved my memory, it still wasn't really doing that well at school and being able to concentrate. Okay. And around that time, also in high school, I got diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and dyslexia. Okay. And so I started to read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I realized that you could create multiple streams of income, that you could be an investor or a business owner. And that's when I started to think a little bit more outside of the box. What can I achieve? But at the same time, I had these doubts and these fears that I'm a black guy from the ghetto and, I'm uneducated. Who am I to start a business, right? And so all of these narratives and conditioning and these stories were spinning in my mind. And it wasn't until I watched the movie The Secret that I learned about manifesting and the law of attraction and being grateful and thinking positive thoughts about yourself and others and the world around you. That's when things shifted even more and I started to believe in myself, right? Now, if we take all of what I just said, all of that is basically lies. Okay, all of that is basically lies. Even the parts where I started to think positive about myself, right? You know, what is positive? What is negative? What is good? What is bad? And what's the right way, right? The right way in our society is based on our what they want us to be and who they want us to become, and money and success and all of these things. And so I was following the system. Okay, so if we break all of that down and we realize that we're trying to become something for the system, right? We're trying to become this better version of ourselves. We're trying to have more confidence. We're trying to have a better education. We're trying to be smart. We're trying to grow the business and all of this stuff. Usually, for the most part, it's for being okay in the system. And maybe you want to contribute to other people too, and you want to help people. I don't know where you're at right now in your journey, but you understand the point of what I mean, right? So essentially, I started to grow more. I started to, study personal development and spirituality, and it led to me finding a course workshop called Broadband Consciousness. And in this course, they teach you that you are not your mind, or you are not your script. Okay, the mind is the script, right? The data, right? The narrator, the author, the writing on the pages, right? But that's old stuff. It's always outdated old stuff, and essentially it's not a book of facts, right? It's fiction, right? The brain is always fiction. So whilst we don't want to deny our past and the feelings that we have, we want to understand that they're not the complete truth. Okay, and some people can experience something tragic and have a totally different perception on what they experience versus someone else. Okay, and everyone is going to experience things differently. And again, I'm not doing this to gaslight or negate anyone's experience. I'm just trying to get you to understand the perception based on how God operates, or the universe operates, in that God is not good. God is not bad. God is just is. Okay. And so all of your thoughts, every single one of them, if you can practice seeing them as not who you are, right, or not even who you were, right, just electrical signals in the brain, just data points, then you would see that you are not this information. You are the awareness that can see it, that experiences thought, right? And so as soon as you do that, all of the thoughts have to begin to die, because you're not giving them any power or any energy, right? Things only survive when we give them energy. Okay, so if you're giving a thought energy and you're giving it attention, it's going to manifest itself more and more, right? Now, in the state of the God frequency, or realizing that you are awareness or presence, now you're not giving any power to the thought. You're allowing the thought to be there. You're allowing the emotion to be there, but you're not identifying with the thought. That's who I am. You are the awareness of those thoughts and those emotions. So I started to realize through going to this seminar that I'm not my thoughts, right? I'm not my mind. I'm not my emotions. And as you begin to build the muscle of practicing that on a daily basis, and by the way, I have a newsletter that you can sign up to for free, and you're going to get daily emails where you're going to be able to practice presence and realize who you really are beyond your mind, beyond your thought, and being able to manifest from that space rather than manifesting within the matrix. Okay, most people are manifesting within the matrix, and they're not manifesting from presence, from God, right? They're manifesting within the mind, right? And they wonder why you're not seeing results. We don't see results with manifestation because we're manifesting from the ego, from the mind. And sometimes that's okay, and it works in that way as well. But we get stuck in limiting beliefs. We get stuck in narratives. We get stuck in how we need to feel in a specific time. And then that's going to affect my manifestation. All of this is ego narratives and stories, and they're all lies and not the truth to manifestation. And so when you step back and you realize that you are presence, which is what I learned at this workshop, I realized that, oh, actually, I'm the seer. I am the awareness. I am the presence that can bring, maybe not bring, but realize who I really am. Okay, if I am presence or God or the universe expressing itself in human form, then I am everything. And if I am everything, I don't need to manifest. If I need to manifest, I'm implying that I am not having the thing, right? So when it comes to thoughts, it's based on what you've learned. Imagine you never learned anything. Imagine you never learned any language. You take away all language, instantaneously, there's no way that you can think because there's no language. The only reason you have thought is because of language. If you didn't have language, then everything would just be energy, just energy flowing through your body. You wouldn't have a name or label for all the individual emotions. In fact, when emotions become individuals, it creates an identity, and then now we continually feel those same experiences and those same things over and over again, and we get stuck in the suffering of feeling these particular emotions. And there's nothing wrong with feeling emotions. It's just that they stay there for a long time. They become lodged to our bodies, and it makes us act out certain behaviors based on our conditioning. So if someone's procrastinating, they're procrastinating because they're identifying with a thought and the emotion that they felt for a long time. Usually, through my experience and work with many, many people, procrastination is oftentimes trauma, and it's fears and doubts. Usually guilt and shame and feeling not enough. Okay, so what if all of these things, shame, guilt, doubt, fear, right, trauma, never had any labels? You took away all the labels, all the language, just emotions and energy in the body, right? Just energy flowing through you. What begins to happen is that energy starts to remember who it really is, in that this energy is the universe too. And once this energy realizes it is the universe too, guess what? It disappears into the oneness, right? And it's no longer a reoccurring thought. It's no longer a reoccurring emotion, because the emotion is not realizing itself as an individual. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about here. This is some deep stuff. But the point that I'm making is individualization is the point of all of our suffering in the world at large. We need to come back together rather than moving towards individualization. In one of my other videos, I spoke about feminism. Feminism is not about coming together. It's about individualization. And whilst feminism is a very powerful movement, talking about first wave feminism here, third wave feminism is not about empowerment anymore. Things have changed, and we have to understand that we need to come together as a unit, and men and women need to learn how to collaborate and work together in harmony, not as individuals. Okay, if we don't do that, we are going to experience a lot of problems in the next few years, period. Okay, you need to look into AI and how supercomputers are going to be taking over, and a lot of jobs are going to be lost, and we're going to need each other. But it's going to be hard for us to work with each other if we don't work out how to work together as in a relationship. So emotions thinks they are individuals, right? Emotions think they are individuals. If they were like, an energy being, they think they're individuals. And I know this because I've practiced with so many clients, and they think they identify with being that emotion. Once they realize they're not that emotion, right? They're much more vast than they are the entire universe. That emotion cannot exist in the same form anymore. It has to disappear into the oneness, right? And so now it's collaborating with the universe rather than just I'm this emotion and I'm feeling this thing, right? And so this is why emotions will die once you realize that you are God, that you are the universe, you are oneness, whatever name or label that you like to use, you are everything. And so are your emotions and so are your thoughts, right? And so you have to learn, or we have to learn to realize our thoughts and realize the narrative and realize the stories that we're telling about ourselves and this reality, right? Because again, I was a black guy from the UK, uneducated, ADHD, dyslexia, and I was thinking I'm this person. But now I can make 25K in a day because I'm not identifying with how much money I can make and I'm this kind of person. And so this is only how much I can make. Here's how society is and how society works for me. Here's the limitations and mindsets that I have. It's more of an unlimited perspective on ourselves and the reality around us. And now we are free. Now we are sovereign. Now we are realizing who we really are. Okay, we need to drop all of these narratives and these ideologies about the world and politics and all this stuff. And then we become free and we naturally will come together and work together. And so through practicing presence, through practicing realizing who you really are, through practicing awareness, you can step back into this state of groundedness and centeredness and I am, right here, right now, I am, and moving from that space, moving from that core, moving from that centeredness and approaching reality in that way. With a sense of peace and equanimity, that no matter what happens outside of myself, I have that state, I am presence, I am God, no matter what's happening. And when you stand in that truth and you walk through life in that truth, things can't shake you. Right? You are here. Right? You are centered and you are connected to all that is. And you can accept your reality for what it is too, and understand this is where the world is at right now, but I'm going to stay where I'm at, right? And your impact and your energy is going to affect the world around you directly and indirectly through practicing presence. So it's such an important exercise, not only for manifestation, but for your spirituality too, right? Because when you're in that state, you're operating from the God frequency, one of the highest frequencies you can step to. Some people say the highest frequency is authenticity, which is a complete lie. The highest frequency is always going to be enlightenment, and it's never going to be less than that. Realizing that you are not your thoughts, that is the highest frequency. As soon as you're in thought and you're in authenticity, you are still in the mind, you are still in the ego, you're still operating on a lower vibrational frequency based on this 3D world. When you're thinking, or when you're operating beyond thinking, you are always in a high vibrational thinking, high vibrational frequency, because you're not in thinking. Thinking is limited. Okay, so transcend thinking. The link's in the description to go join my newsletter, where you're going to get daily emails, so you can practice presence and realize who you really are and begin operating from that space. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.